Group sex, psychological release or collective deviation. When we speak of human relationships, we are speaking of a sacred connection that extends beyond the mere interaction of bodies. It is a link that brings together hearts, souls, and minds within a bond of love, trust, and continuity. Yet modern societies are witnessing a wave of deviations that undermine this bond and strip relationships of their most profound meanings. Among these deviations is the phenomenon of group sex, a subject shrouded in controversy and secrecy, yet whose effects cannot be ignored. At first glance, proponents of this practice may justify it by claiming it is merely a form of psychological release, an escape from boredom or monotony, or an attempt to experience pleasure in different ways. But when we delve deeper into this matter, we realize that it is not simply about a momentary desire or an unusual pleasure, but rather about a dangerous transformation that touches the very foundation of morality, family, and even human psychology itself. From a psychological perspective, engaging in collective sexual acts reveals several internal crises. The human being by nature seeks exclusivity in relationships, a sense of being chosen and special. When a person accepts sharing their partner in such contexts, this indicates a profound collapse in the meaning of trust and an internal emptiness they attempt to fill through experiences that are in reality destructive rather than constructive. Psychology teaches us that repeated exposure to such practices reshapes the mind's perception of pleasure, making it detached from its natural emotional contexts, leading to a distorted understanding of intimacy. Religious traditions, on the other hand, view the relationship between man and woman as a bond based on sanctity, dignity, and responsibility. Marriage is not merely a legal or social contract, but rather a sacred covenant meant to preserve honor, protect society from corruption, and fulfill the natural and spiritual needs of both partners in a balanced way. The introduction of multiple individuals into this bond under the pretense of pleasure or freedom is nothing but a violation of that sanctity and a descent into practices that were condemned by all divine laws, which stressed the importance of chastity and warned against obscenity and moral decline. From a moral standpoint, the practice of group sex represents a form of collective decadence. It is not simply about one person's deviation, but rather about a group agreeing to abandon values of modesty, dignity, and fidelity. This indicates a collapse of conscience, where the group normalizes what is unnatural and presents it as liberation or self-expression. In reality, it is nothing but an erosion of barriers that were meant to protect human dignity and prevent society from sliding into chaos. From a social perspective, this phenomenon carries disastrous consequences. The family, which is the fundamental nucleus of any society, is shaken when such practices become widespread. Jealousy, betrayal, and loss of trust all grow within the smallest unit of society, creating individuals who are unstable, incapable of maintaining healthy relationships, and who in turn raise children in environments where chaos replaces stability. Thus, the entire social fabric is exposed to gradual erosion. Some may argue that such practices are a form of freedom, and that as long as they occur between consenting adults, no harm is done. But this argument neglects an essential truth. Freedom is not absolute chaos. Freedom without values and without boundaries is nothing but an invitation to destroy oneself and others. Just as one cannot call destroying one's body with poison an act of freedom, neither can we call the destruction of relationships, dignity, and psychological health a legitimate freedom. Freedom is only true when it is bound by responsibility and guided by reason. Philosophically, this phenomenon reveals a deeper crisis, the absence of meaning. When human beings reduce their existence to bodily pleasures and transient experiences, they lose the higher dimensions of life. True intimacy is not a fleeting body contact. It is a meeting of souls, a building of trust, and the creation of a story that continues across time. Collective sexual practices, however, erase these values, replacing them with moments of chaos that leave behind only emptiness, regret, and alienation. In reality, those who engage in such acts are not seeking pleasure as much as they are escaping from themselves. They run from loneliness, from emptiness, from unhealed wounds. Instead of facing their inner crises, they drown them in experiences that only deepen their wounds. The short-lived excitement quickly fades, and what remains is a heavy burden of guilt, shame, and self-loathing. Numerous psychological studies confirm that those who immerse themselves in such practices are more prone to depression, anxiety, and a persistent sense of meaninglessness in life. Moreover, the dangers are not only psychological or moral, but also physical. Such practices are a fertile ground for the spread of sexually transmitted diseases and for exposing the body to health risks that are often irreversible. Thus, what begins as an attempt at entertainment may end with a lifetime of suffering and regret. In conclusion, group sex is not a form of psychological release, but rather a collective deviation that exposes the individual and society alike to deep wounds. The solution is not in normalizing such behaviors or presenting them as freedom, but in returning to the original meaning of relationships: love, trust, responsibility, and sanctity. Only through restoring these values can human beings protect their dignity, preserve their mental and emotional well-being, and build families that stand as pillars of stability and morality. The matter is not about a temporary pleasure, but about the future of humanity itself. Will we continue down the path of deviations that lead to emptiness and destruction? Or will we restore the true meaning of relationships so that they may once again be a source of peace, love, and balance? The answer lies in the choices we make, for the path of values may seem more difficult, but it is the only path that safeguards dignity and ensures a future free from collapse. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel to get our latest videos.